Hello and welcome back to another episode of It's the Vibe podcast. You are with your host, Megan. I hope you are amazing and having a fabulous start to 2024. So we're 1 week in officially. So that's terrifying because I blinked and that week went. So if that's a sign of things to come, we'll be chatting in December before we know it. So the podcast episode today, beautifully titled Breaking Patterns, Rewiring Your Mind for Growth. Now, this episode was inspired by, believe it or not, a song that I have on repeat and living completely rent-free in my head every other minute of the day when I'm not at the gym, banging it in my earphones. And the song is called Strangers, and it goes a little like this. Now, if I've done that right, that should have played a snippet of the song. So if you listen to this and the song played, I've bloody nailed it. Otherwise, I haven't been bothered to edit out my little silent bit. Anyway, so speaking of rent-free thoughts, all right, it got me really thinking about my thought patterns. So like if you have heard the rest of the song, she like basically continues that, she since her ex, she sees a guy, sits in the back seat with a guy, is texting a guy, and then he goes her, and then like the cycle repeats. So it got me thinking about my thought patterns and loops in my life, in particular, the negative thought patterns. So obviously some thought patterns and sequences are good, right? On loops we've kind of got. So I'm talking like look both ways before you cross the street vibes, okay? But others do not serve us. So we attract the same fuckboy. We attract the same shit boss. We attract the same bitch friends. Even in a fresh new environment, like you can move states and still end up in a similar situation. So self-awareness, in my very humble opinion, is the fucking key to life. And when I became aware of the thought patterns that I wasn't previously aware of, it literally changed my life. Like not even being dramatic. I'm always dramatic, but I'm not being dramatic in this case. So I had less spirals, less wallowing, less wasting energy on shit I didn't even need to think about. And shit that I was thinking about that I didn't even realize I was thinking about, like, hello, unconscious thoughts. And if you repeat thoughts, you start to believe them. Obviously, a belief is a thought repeated. So obviously it's shit when they suck. When you've got negative thought patterns that ends up in loops, you end up believing them. But when they are awesome, obviously then you have a beautifully positive mindset. So once you are aware of these thoughts, you can change them. And so in this episode, I'm going to take you through a few tips that I have. One on how you can identify them. Two, I guess the impact on what that actually means for our life, short and long term, and in different situations. And three, how we can remove and get rid of them. Once you are aware of your thought patterns, okay, then you can change them. And how we do that and understanding let's understand what a thought pattern is first of all. So patterns are things we do unconsciously in loops. So X happens, then Y happens. Or you, like I said before, you attract the same types of people in different situations, etc. Okay. So a common one I see is I want to do this thing. Okay. So it's a new business. It's you want to start a podcast. You want to talk to the cute boy on the street. You want to reach out to that girl who looks amazing and active at the gym. That's me. Right. And then it's something new. And our beautiful subconscious mind, as amazing as it is, she's just like, okay, well, that's new. We don't love that. And I'm going to serve up to you 27 instances and recollections and memories in the past of when things have gone bad when you've tried something new. Okay. And then once you try to do new things enough times and you let these things stop you, it will be like, go to do a new thing. No, go to do a new thing. No, go to do, and it maps across to every aspect. Okay. So how that impacts our lives. It literally influences everything we do. As I said, anything new, cue the loop pattern. Here we are back to where we started. So let me give you a couple of examples. So in relationships, it has a huge influence. So imagine you are a couple stuck in a pattern of like passive aggressive communication, right? You constantly avoid addressing underlying issues. So it leads to obviously repeated arguments and tension. And by breaking this pattern and fostering sort of like a more open communication, you can really strengthen your relationship and build a healthier connection. So it's like, I know that if I do this, this is going to piss my partner off, and then this is going to happen, then I'm going to react this way, and you end up in the same loop, right? So let's talk about career and professionals. So you are an individual who has settled into a pattern of complacency in your job, right? You're like, I'm super comfy, like I don't want to do a new challenge, I don't want new roles and responsibilities. Okay, that will leave you where you are, exactly where, like, you know, and if you're happy with that, obviously fine. But if you're looking to kind of like climb the corporate ladder, you know, it's not going to serve you too well, is it? So breaking this pattern might involve, like, you know, setting new career goals or acquiring new skills, and seeking any opportunity for growth. And as a result, you know, you might get the promotion, or even just have increased job satisfaction and advancement, right? Amazing. Let's talk about personal well-being and mental health. So the example here I have is visualize somebody caught in a pattern of negative self-talk and self-doubt. Okay, so anytime they look in the mirror, they think, you know, certain thoughts. Anytime they, like I said before, try to do something new, the self-doubt creeps in and then they don't do it. Okay, so by practicing self-awareness and challenging these thoughts, you can actually break the pattern and cultivate a more positive mindset. So obviously this shift positively impacts our mental health, leading to, you know, stress reduction and overall significant increase in well-being. So, which is what we always love. Now, let me get a little bit deeper on this one for you. So let's consider the neurological aspect, okay? So a study demonstrating how mindfulness meditation, when practiced consistently, induces changes in the brain structure and function. Okay, so this really showcases our ability to adapt and rewire. So new neural pathways, which is what we bloody want to do. So supporting the idea that intentional efforts can break negative patterns and foster positive change. So there is a shit ton of scientific proof, and studies and all of the things, right, about this particular, you know, neural pathways being able to be built. So it's not just like, oh, I'm just going to think positive and life's going to get better. Like, it literally will. The thoughts that you continue to loop in your mind, those neural pathways are like, okay, cool. Like, this is what we're doing. This is where they're sending us. This is what we're going to do. But when you create new ones, it's like, okay, cool. Now this is what we're doing. It's a very obedient, eventually a very obedient thing in our minds. And also another example here is fear of change and comfort zones. So a lot of people are terrified of change. And again, it's literally the only thing you can guarantee in your life. My dad says to me that the only guarantee in this life is death and taxes. I say to him, Dad, the only thing that's guaranteed in this life is death and change. Like, hello, tax evasion, right? So the fear of change and comfort zones. So you've got an individual who has long held on to a job they hate, right? Hate it, hate it, hate it, but they're terrified of doing anything else. So by acknowledging that this is the particular fear, because they might not understand that that is what they're worried about. They just might think that there's no other way out. So by acknowledging this fear, and then just setting realistic goals and gradually stepping out of their comfort zone, right? You can break the pattern of complacency. And it's so easy for us to be complacent. It's so easy for us to get into our lives in the grooves. Like I said at the start of this episode, like we're week 1 in January, like it'll be December before we know it. So continuing the current thought patterns that you have, where are you going to end up in December? What are you going to say to yourself, you know, your future self, if you could write her a letter and be like, hey bitch, what's up? In December, I want to be here. I want to have achieved this. I want to do this. Can't wait to see you there. Love you so much. From January, Megs. Okay, that's for December, Megs. Send it all away. But then the version of myself that's showing up is doing the same shit day in, day out. A little bit of a mismatch there. So long term, obviously you're constantly doing things. And this is another example. So if you want to ignore your negative thought patterns consistently long term, right? Imagine someone who is consistently neglecting your physical health, stuck in patterns of unhealthy eating and, like, you know, super low vibe lifestyle. So breaking this pattern involves obviously eating healthier, and, you know, moving more regularly. But what that does is prevents a lot of the long-term consequences, like, you know, obesity and health-related issues. And the positive changes contribute to a longer, more active life and a happier life overall. So, okay, we've recognized these patterns now through awareness And so I want to share my tips on becoming more self-aware and noticing when you're stuck in shitty thought patterns. Because let me tell you, you can, like, once you, I guess, open this box of awareness, like, let's call it, you are going to be surprised what you find. It's literally like your unconscious mind is so unconscious most of the time that you cannot even be, obviously, again, unconscious, but you're not aware of what you're thinking. And when you're not aware of what you're thinking, it's really hard to positively influence your actions as well, okay? Because it all intertwines. So, what are my tips on becoming more self-aware? Number one, practice mindfulness. Okay. I said this in the last podcast episode, and I have thought so much about mindfulness recently that I just feel like if I'm not living in this moment, like I'm just a bit silly. So engage in mindful activities. So meditation, deep breathing, exercising, or like mindful walking even. Okay. Focus on the present moment without judgment. Okay. Allowing you to observe your thoughts and feelings without even being consumed by them. Like you're just noticing them. So that's the other key thing. Like imagine yourself, actually go back to high school, right? You're those judgy bitches in high school that are like, oh my God, are you wearing that? Okay. Don't be that person to your own thoughts. Be like, okay, that's interesting. Okay, that's interesting. And like me, I say, that's interesting a billion times a day. And it is because I'm so interested by the things that I'm thinking. Like, I mean, I'm a very interesting person. But when I find my thoughts come up and I'm just like, okay, that's interesting. My next tip is keep a journal and regularly journal down your thoughts, feelings, and experiences. Because what you can do with this is you can, spend it literally can take you bloody 30 seconds a day. And if you notice you're consistently thinking something, just write it down in a journal. Or even at the end of the day, if you can reflect on the day had just gone, notice situations that like maybe triggered a specific emotion or like your reaction to that specific situation. And then this will help you identify patterns over time. So you'll be able to look back and be like, oh, okay, when I put in this situation, I, respond with X, right? Really, really helpful. And it's written down. Written down. It's so good. Now, this next tip of mine to become more mindful is seek feedback. Now, I will preface this tip by saying you need to have a solid squad. You need to have people in your life that are like absolute builders of love and confidence and trust. Do not seek feedback from people who are going to make you feel worse. Okay. So constructive feedback from family, friends, and even colleagues, right? Like we've got co-workers that become better than your best friends sometimes. Okay. And be open to receiving insights about your strengths or your weaknesses or areas for improvement and use this as self-reflection. We do things that we just don't even realize. Like I swear, I did not notice how much I talked with my hands until somebody pointed it out to me. Like someone was paying me out one day and they're like, Jesus Christ, don't knock me out while you're trying to explain your point. When I get excited, my hands fly all over the place, which you would know if you watch this on YouTube or if you watch any of the reels that I put out from these episodes. The hands are flying everywhere. But it's yeah, I mean, I'm an expressive person, that's all. The next tip I have for you is to explore your values and beliefs. Not a lot of us do this. Not a lot of us really identify our core values and beliefs, right? What do you stand for no matter what? What is the biggest core value you have in your life? Is it family? Is it money? Is it freedom? The list goes on. Have a bit of a think about that because core beliefs kind of form everything that we do, right? What we value and obviously what we believe, we put a shitload of emphasis on, okay? And consider how these values influence your decisions and actions and whether they align with your authentic self. Because we can build up these values that we think are what our values are, but underneath it all, we peel all the layers back. They're just like, okay, completely the opposite. And that's exactly how I used to live, completely out of alignment with who I was actually trying to be versus who I actually was. And believe me, if you've been in my world today, specifically as I'm recording this, it's like Monday now, the synchronicities for me have been off the fucking charts. Like off the charts. I feel so in alignment that it's just like I could literally ask for a sign about one thing and then like boom, like it's literally 5 minutes later, there's something. And it's just the best fun ever. I'm here for it. My next tip is embrace vulnerability. Not an easy thing to do. And again, squad goals here, okay? Let's be, practice a little bit of discernment when we're opening our hearts to people, but be open to acknowledging and expressing your vulnerabilities. I did a whole vulnerability episode a couple of weeks ago. So people can relate to you, people open up to you, and it's really a beautiful way of allowing people to support you. So understand, obviously, that vulnerability is actually a strength and it's a key aspect of self-awareness. And it really allows you to connect with your authentic self and others on a deeper level, like I said. Okay, my next tip is regular check-ins. Set aside time for regular self-reflection. Schedule check-ins with yourself. Like, how am I feeling? What are my thoughts being? My overall well-being? How am I going? Like, I talked about a CEO day. Like, that is just my favorite thing to do, my favorite day. But like, schedule 30 minutes at the end of every day. Again, if you can just lock yourself away, if you have kids or a family or, whatever, or even if you have whatever, anytime you can set aside for yourself and just have a bit of a think. Okay, cool. How am I feeling? When you consciously do that, it automatically cues your brain to kind of be like, okay, cool. I'm going to be consciously thinking of my thoughts now. Whereas if you kind of just run through and just be like, I don't even want to deal with it, like you're not going to deal with it. Now, my next tip is to practice active listening. Okay, pay close attention to when others speak and reflect on your own responses and emotional reactions during these conversations. The insights that these provide is like something else. When I notice myself saying certain things, I'm just like, hang on a minute. Where the hell did that come from? Like, it's really interesting when and especially if you're a different person around different people, which is very common. Like, I am a different person around different people. But what I find when I am being 1,000% myself for somebody, or when I am being a fake bitch, like, very different. And I catch myself very, very quickly these days. My next tip is mind-body connection. And being the feeler that I am, right? This is a goodie for me. So pay attention to how your body responds to different situations. So you can get like physical sensations from situations, obviously like tension or relaxation, and they can be super key indicators of your emotional state. Like, let's talk about anxiety for a second. Like, I can feel it in my chest immediately. It's just like and the tension in, I'll like start to clench my jaw, and my hands would like clench up and things like that. Or if I'm relaxed, like obviously my jaw is not like, gritting together and grinding my teeth down bloody millimeter by millimeter like they do, right? So your body and your mind obviously play a pivotal role in being besties with each other, okay? We need to foster that connection as much as we possibly can. My next tip is to cultivate empathy. Put yourself in others' shoes to understand their perspectives and emotions. Okay, and you're like, what the fuck's got that to do with with being mindful? So this practice not only enhances your interpersonal skills, but also deepens your understanding of human emotions. People are just mirrors to us, right? You can meet people in your life and you're like, fucking, I hate that bitch, right? But if you hold a big fat mirror up, whatever you can't stand about her, you can't stand about yourself. Right. So if you have that empathy for other people and put yourself in other people's shoes, you're going to be able to hold that mirror up really beautifully to mirror back something that you need to learn, but from a non-judgmental, super positive, really beautiful space. It works, trust me. My next tip is to learn from your mistakes. I fail fast. That is my like second life motto. If you want to know what my first life motto is, we're here to fully fucking send it in 24. Is my current life motto. My second life motto is fail fast. Embrace them. Okay. You grow so much. You grow more from your failures than from your wins. Always, 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 always. And if you're open to embracing your failures and your mistakes, there's opportunities for growth. Oh, game changer, right? Just analyze them. You literally just collecting information. It means nothing. Analyze the circumstances leading up to the mistake, or, whatever. I don't really like the word failure, and reflect on how you can approach similar situations differently in the future, right? It's really simple. So someone wants to say something to me and then I react this way, okay? Next time, and I'm like, ooh, I didn't like the way I reacted to that. That was a bit shitty. Next time, I'm going to be like, oh, okay, last time I did that, that wasn't very good. So I'm going to do things differently, right? We do things differently around here. The podcast motto. There we go. Told you. Synchronicities, they're bloody everywhere. My last tip is to consider reaching out to somebody, right? Whether it is a mindset coach, whether it is a counselor, a therapist, whomever, so a friend or family member that you trust deeply. Okay, they are great to give you obviously professional support and offer, super valuable insights and tools, more importantly, to enhance your self-awareness. And yeah, game changing. Like, my mentor is going to jump on the podcast next week, and I'm so excited for you guys to hear from her. And I'm really going to dive deep and be as open as, whatever comes up for you to explain to you and articulate to you guys, like, the journey that I've had on since having a mentor, especially around my mindset. It's changed every aspect of my life, and it is just the fucking best thing ever. So amazing. Okay, we've identified how we can change our mindfulness, okay, and be more mindful in general. Not focusing on the negative thought loops, but focusing more on the positive thought loops once you've identified the negative ones, right? So now I'm going to give you strategies for breaking these patterns. So they're going to be kind of like in a similar vibe to what I just said earlier, but this is literally like if you notice yourself in a pattern, so you've used all the strategies that it's given you to identify, to be more mindful, to identify the pattern, right? Now I'm going to tell you how to break them. So my first strategy for breaking patterns, identify and acknowledge them, okay? Recognize the recurring behavior or thoughts and that you want to change, right? And again, acknowledge them without judgment and just understanding that it's just awareness, like it's perfect, right? Now you know, now you can change it. Perfection. Okay. Strategy number 2, set clear intentions. Define your goals and your intentions for breaking specific patterns. Now, this comes so beautifully into my, like, what you don't want, so write down what you do want, like life hack. Okay. So you write, instead of just like being like, I don't know what I want, how you don't want to feel. Right? Write that on one side of the paper, left or right, whichever way feels best for you. And on the other side of that paper, write down how you can reframe that and what's effectively the opposite of that. And how do you want to feel? Okay. This one thing alone, like, it's epic. You're going to love it. And then the next thing to do, obviously, you've written down all of the ways you don't want to feel. We've reframed them on the other side of the page, and we know how we do want to feel. Now, my next strategy to breaking patterns is to create a plan of action. Okay, step by step. And this is super logical, okay, which is fantastic because, like, sometimes the imagination can ruin logic, and can be good sometimes because imagination is amazing and I'm all about being delusional, but sometimes logic can help us. All right, so develop a step-by-step plan outlining how you're going to break the pattern. And that's why I like the exercise of writing what you don't want and then changing it to what you do want, because you can literally see it there. And it's so easy to break down those steps on how you're going to get to the good feeling. Okay, the thing, how you want to feel as opposed to how you don't feel. And then break it down into a process of super manageable and realistic tasks. All right, whether it's tasks or whether it's, it could be anything, right? So just break it down into manageable bits and pieces. Now, another life hack. When you note that all down and you start ticking off the steps that you are taking, or you start actually physically doing those steps that you're taking in order to move to that more desired outcome or more desired feeling, holy shit, the dopamine hit you're going to get, you're going to bloody love it. So my next strategy for breaking patterns is replacing negative habits with positive ones. Okay, so identify all the alternative behaviors that align with your goals. Okay, so from your action plan there, we know how you want to feel. Now, replacing obviously what you were negatively thinking into what you're positively thinking. So again, beautifully works out when you map these, when you have these two side by side. So you've got the way you don't want to feel on the left. Okay, you've got the way you do want to feel on the right, and you've got your plan of how you're going to go from the left to the right. Now, what you need to do is identify the behaviors that are going to allow you to bridge that gap. Okay. Now, focus on incorporating these positive habits and just obviously to replace the negative ones. So the second that you start noticing that negative loop, you're like, oh, hang on a minute. Nope. I know the positive way that I want to feel, and I know the positive story that I need to tell myself in order to shift that. Okay. Now, my next strategy for breaking patterns, practice mindfulness and self-reflection. So as I said above, cultivating mindfulness to observe your thoughts and behaviors, again, without attachment. It doesn't mean shit. Like, literally be so, like, unfazed by what is coming up. Like, you are just sitting on the side of a highway and or there's all these cars going past that you just don't really care about, right? You're just noticing, okay, there's a red one, there's a blue one, there's a green one, yeah, there's a pink one. Okay. Take that kind of approach to it, because you really don't want to be like, oh my God, why am I thinking that? And why, like, because you, like, what you're going to do, you're going to continue the spiral. So let's not do that. And regularly reflect on your progress as well. Like I said, reflection is a big key of all of this, because you can really identify your triggers, or, you know, your activators, and any obstacles. Now, my next strategy for breaking patterns is to establish accountability. A preface for this one, squad goals. You know what I mean, okay? Seek support and encouragement, and consider having regular check-ins to discuss your progress. Because if you can like speak these things out loud to people or someone or whatever, right? It's actually, one, you're thinking them in your head and then you're saying them out loud and then you're hearing yourself say them. So there's something to it. Don't ask me, but I truly believe in it. I speak about everything that comes into my head, falls out of my mouth for that reason. Especially if it's negative, because I just want to get the fucking thing out. Okay. Now, my next strategy for breaking patterns, challenging your limiting beliefs. It wouldn't be, and it's the Via podcast episode without me talking about limiting beliefs. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to identify and challenge any limiting beliefs that contribute to this particular pattern. And just as before, all of the reframes I've just touched on, you're going to replace the negative self-talk with affirmations that support your desired change. I'm the affirmation queen. I love affirmations so much. They are so uplifting. They are so inspiring. They are just like, it's a mood changer for me, game changer for me. We love it. Okay, so replace your negative self-talk with affirmations that support your desired change. Now, this doesn't need to be like, I am healthy, I am wealthy, I am happy. It doesn't need to be the affirmations and that, but you can say, instead of, I am never going to earn more money, I don't know how to start my side business, right? You get the point, right? I'm learning how to start my side business. I can't wait to make more money. How much more positive is that? I just come up with that one on the top of my head too. Didn't even write that one down. Okay. My next strategy for breaking patterns is to visualize success. Visualization is my favorite thing to do. Okay. One of my favorite things to do. I shouldn't say my favorite. Visualization is so powerful because our unconscious mind does not know the difference between real or imaginary. If you literally lay in bed at night, like I do, and picture your dream life, your brain is like firing, wiring, doing all the things, believing that that's literally you in the moment. Okay. So visualize yourself successfully breaking the pattern and achieving your goals. Powerful, 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 powerful. And create a mental image of the positive outcomes to reinforce the motivation, right? If you can see something, oh my God, it's so much more powerful. Okay. My next strategy for breaking patterns, practice gratitude. Again, it wouldn't be, and it's the Vibe podcast without gratitude. Okay. Cultivate a gratitude practice that shifts your focus toward positive aspects of your life. Okay. And really acknowledge and appreciate the progress you're making in breaking patterns. So it's not an easy thing, this personal development world. Okay. It's hard as fuck. But when you start to move through and you really start to be gentle with yourself, and you know, you look back at even the teeny tiny steps that we're taking, and be grateful for yourself for doing that work, because you know a future version of yourself is going to be beyond grateful for you then. Be grateful now. Do you know what? Be grateful for everything in your life, because gratitude is the second key to life alongside awareness. Gratitude and awareness. Okay, my next strategy for breaking patterns, learning from setbacks. Okay. Similar to, I guess, the whole failure vibe. So understand that setbacks are a natural part of the process, right? When we're going to go down one path thinking, mate, we're sprinting. This is it. This is everything. And then like a roadblock will come up. Now, roadblocks are either a detour in the right direction, or it can be broken through. Okay. So always view setbacks as just something to stop and think about and be like, okay. So don't dwell on it and analyze it just for insights. And then adjust your approach accordingly. Be like, you know what? I'm going to turn left here. I'm not going to do this, or no, fuck this, I'm going to break this sucker down. I'm going to keep moving through. Okay. My next strategy for breaking patterns, surround yourself with positivity. Evaluate your environment, and more importantly, your relationships. Surround yourself with supportive and positive influences that align with your goals. Holy shit. Please do not be with downers. Like, you just don't need like little crabs stuck in the little life out of you. Okay, we don't do that here. My next strategy for breaking patterns. Focus on self-care. Okay, self-care again. I'm having a lot of keys to like living your best life, and this is another one. Prioritize self-care practices to maintain your overall well-being. Now, obviously, this isn't just like go to the spa and get a massage and a facial and a mani-pedi every day to make yourself feel better, right? I'm talking about the things that you can do that make you feel so good. Okay. Mine are video calling my goddaughter, speaking with friends, speaking with family, cuddling my pets, being with the people that I love, being at the river, driving my car, right? Singing at the top of my fucking lungs to everything that I can while I'm driving along as well. Okay. So those small self-care things that really recharge you. Okay. So it's like self-care, we're recharging ourselves. And my final strategy for you, okay, stay patient and persistent. This shit takes time and effort. All right. So, like I said, there is a future version of you that is beyond fucking grateful that you're doing this work now. You know, when you start digging into the trenches of your mind, you know, it's a little bit of an interesting and unsettling place. Okay. But just know that it's just the beginning, right? And you're just going to keep digging through. It does get easier over time as well, which is the best thing ever. And, you know, any change, whether it be positive or negative, is a gradual process. Like you use the analogy of like, you know, you can eat a bag of chips and you don't put on weight in the day. You eat a bag of chips every day for 10 years, that's going to be doing something, right? Same if you get the point. Okay, so I've talked quite a lot about mental and emotional approach to this. So let me kind of move to the physical mind-body connection thing that I had referred to earlier. Okay, so physical exercise for emotional well-being. Now, I'm not going to tell you to go run 10Ks because the thought of that makes me want to die anyway. So I'm going to give you practical examples. So physical exercise, okay, for emotional well-being in general, right? So regular exercise is you know, incorporating that into your routine is not only going to benefit your physical health, but also it is actually going to have a profound impact on your mental health and well-being as well. So physical activity releases endorphins. And I just had like Legally Blonde, that part of the movie when she's like, exercise gives you endorphins. Endorphins make you happy, right? That's what it is. So endorphins can help break patterns of stress and anxiety or low energy. Okay, so whether it's a walk, and what you're doing actually is, you know, not even talking about low energy, it's the energy in general. If you're walking along, or even go outside for a 10-minute walk, like I feel so much better. You're moving the energy through, it's not kind of being stuck. So the next activity for mind-body connection you can do is breathing techniques for stress reduction or whatever. So if you've ever done breath work, you'll know, like I'll be preaching to the converted, it's a whole thing. But even if you can just take, you know, 10 deep breaths in and out, in through your nose, out through your mouth, and clear your mind as much as you can and literally just focus on the sound of your breathing and focus on, you know, your belly expanding as you breathe in and then it contracting as you breathe out. And like, as you're doing that kind of, you know, drop your shoulders and maybe like, you know, wiggle your head side to side and things like that. Just like, it's so beautiful. And if you want to get into the breathwork stuff, highly recommend. She is an absolute beaut. Now, body scanned meditation as well is another fun one. So practicing a body scan meditation basically involves you bringing awareness to different parts of your bodies. So this mindfulness technique really helps break the pattern of overthinking and it promotes a deeper connection between the mind and the body because obviously you're becoming very attuned to different physical sensations, right? And you might notice tension and release it, which is obviously going to make you calmer. So there's a bunch of like a bazillion of these on YouTube, I'm sure. But it's like focusing on your toes and, you know, then the top of your feet and the bottom of your feet, then your ankles, okay, no, the balls of your feet and then your ankles and then your calves and then your shins. Right, you get the point. But you're laying down, your eyes are closed. And it's a really great way just to kind of see where you're holding any kind of energy. And what it did for me was it sort of like made me aware of where I held stress because I was like, oh, like I feel it in my chest and I'm anxious. Says me with, you know, 2 inflammatory diseases, like one is an inflammatory bowel disease and the other one's riddling endometriosis around my bloody uterus. So, so I'm like, I hold everything in my chest. No, I don't. Like, and I learned that through body scan meditations. Now, other things, obviously, I'm going to say here, yoga, and it's purely because you're physically moving, but also you're combining that with breath holds and different things like that. There is another type of exercise. It's called progressive muscle relaxation for anxiety, PMR, people call it. So what it does is it involves systematically tensing and then releasing different muscle groups. So this technique is amazing because it actually interrupts the like physical manifestation of anxiety, I guess. And it helps break patterns of muscle tension and promoting a more relaxed state of mind. Because when you're the one in control of like squeezing your clenching your fist together, for example, right? If that's a response that you do when you're anxious or you're stressed or you're thinking negative thoughts, you're doing that consciously, right? So it stops your mind being like, oh, I normally do that. So why is she doing that, right? It's just a pattern interrupt. Expressive movement is another one, which I love. Like dance like an idiot, scream out of the window, like, and then, you know, there's like actual ones like Tai Chi and different things like that. But you can literally like, and I'll do that. Like you see, like I'll watch my dog do it. If she will go nuts barking at a fucking Great Dane because she thinks that she's the same size of it, she'll bark, 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 she'll go nuts, and then she'll shake, and then she'll like, okay, cool, like off we go. And it's like, you know, we're animals too. So shake it off and then, you know, move forward. So not exactly physical, but somewhat in the realm. My next tip is around nutrition's impact on your mental health. So I had changed my eating habits quite dramatically. And my mental health has benefited significantly from it. So what it will also help by doing is if, like me, you would have a shit day, you would eat shit food, then you would go to bed, tell yourself you die will start tomorrow, and you'd end up having a shit day, you'd be like, oh, well, I may as well, you know what, like you see the pattern already, okay? Breaking that alone is going to allow you to not be affected by your mood to control your eating. So amazing. And stay hydrated as well. Drink lots of water because, you know, obviously your brain is like a shit ton of water. Like our whole bodies are so much water. So we need to make sure that we stay hydrated. And the funniest thing, which I've seen, I get sent this all the time because I drink so much water. I'm doing 75 hard at the moment. So I'm actually drinking a gallon of water a day, which I would probably do anyway. So like 4 liters, so like 4 Frank Greens basically in girl math or Frank Green math. And the funny saying that I get sent all the time is drink more water if you're anxious because you're going to be too worried about running to the toilet every 5 minutes, which is 1,000% true. And my last physical aspect for health here is sleep hygiene. Sleep is everything. Okay. You know yourself, if you have a shit sleep, you wake up feeling shit. And then it's almost just like, okay, cool. Like, you know, maybe I didn't charge my phone. So my phone's going to go flat in 5 minutes. My alarm didn't go off. I fell out of bed. I spilled my coffee. Like, you get it, right? So it's a pattern. It's like your day starts off shit and you struggle to get yourself to think anything other than like, oh, can this day get any worse? And when you say shit like that to the universe is like, I mean, yeah, of course it can. Here's worse stuff. Okay. Now, we've talked about patterns, identifying them, breaking them. Okay, now we're going to talk about rewiring your mind for growth. Now, a growth mindset is coined by a psychologist called Carol Dweck. Okay, you should read a book about it. It's epic. And it's the belief that one's abilities and intelligence can be developed through dedication, hard work, and learning. So it contrasts obviously with a fixed mindset, which assumes that traits are innate and unchangeable, which we know is not true. So having a growth mindset means viewing challenges and opportunities, viewing challenges as opportunities for learning. Okay, so persisting through setbacks and understanding that effort is the path to mastery and things like that. All right, and by adopting a growth mindset, you are more likely to embrace challenges and strive for continuous improvement. You'll be like, okay, challenge, cool. You know, let's see what we're going to learn from this. Let's see how I can change. Let's see how I can move. We love challenges, okay? So example, so you consider a student facing a difficult maths problem, right? I'm having my hand up if you can't see me. I fucking hated maths at school. Okay, so with a growth mindset, obviously we would approach the challenge as an opportunity to learn and develop problem solving skills, which, you know, maps across quite handy in life. Problem solving is a very good skill to have. So instead of viewing any mistakes as failures, okay, like I didn't get the thing wrong, or I like, what the hell? Basically, we're going to see them as stepping stones towards understanding and improvement. So this mindset really fosters resilience and a love for learning. And encouraging us really to see setbacks as temporary and solvable, right? So growth mindset to me is what I try and adapt in anything. So there's always something that can be done. Everything is figure outable. You can make it work, okay? Just takes a little bit of not wallowing stepping back and being like, okay, cool, let's problem solve. Put a problem solving hat on and away we go. So how we can embrace change, okay? With expansion. So adopting a growth mindset is super instrumental in breaking patterns. Because otherwise, if you don't, you're going to have a fixed mindset, which means you're going to do the same thing. It's like one thing happens and you're going to approach it in the same way each time. Okay. But by shifting the focus from a fixed mindset of one's abilities to a belief in one's capacity for improvement. So individuals with a growth mindset will see challenges as opportunities to learn, as I said, and grow, making us more resilient in the face of setbacks. And it really encourages the exploration of new strategies and approaches and promoting the adaptability and willingness to break free from stagnant patterns. It's like, just because you've done one thing this way, like 100 times, like how many times do you hear people say, oh, it's just the way that it's done here, right? We do things differently around here, okay? So if you haven't heard of her book, read it. It's actually, I've read it a couple of times now. I've also listened to it on Audible. And it's just, yeah, it's just amazing. So this has been longer than I anticipated, all right? But thank you for sticking with me. I hope you got some value out of this, but let me summarize. I really just wanted to explore your thought patterns, because there may be something you're not aware of and you're like, holy shit, what do I actually think about? And it's a fun thing to start exploring. We don't want to be self-sabotaging here. We don't want limiting beliefs here. And we don't want the impact of our patterns, you know, to affect anything that we love, like our relationships, our career, our mental health, right? We want all these things to be amazing and flourishing. So I'll summarize all of these in the show notes, I promise you. So there are going to be, you know, dot pointed there. So it's a little bit easier for you to sort of break down and be like, okay, what the fuck did she just say? But key takeaways I want you to take from this, okay? So self-awareness is key. So recognizing and understanding personal patterns is the first step to a positive change. Mind-body connection matters, and engaging activities that can enhance our mind-body connection, exercise, mindfulness, can really contribute to breaking negative patterns. You want to adopt a growth mindset. So believe in the capacity for personal development through effort and learning. It's super essential for resilience and breaking ingrained patterns. And practical strategies for change, right? So I talked about setting clear intentions, practicing mindfulness, and seeking accountability, again, squad goals, actionable steps towards breaking patterns. And celebrate the fuck out of yourself along this way, right? Like I said, this stuff is hard. And if you're with people that don't explore, you know, mindset, who don't kind of want to delve deeper into their lives, who don't want to do any of this stuff, they're really hard to be around once you notice patterns of theirs, right? Because once you become super aware of your patterns, best believe you're going to notice them with everybody else. Okay. So again, treat them with grace and, you know, understand that they probably don't recognize that they're doing it. But celebrate yourself for every mini milestone. Fuck it. Celebrate everything. Okay. So that is my episode for you this week. Thank you so much for listening. I love you so much. And I will see you in the next episode.